Welcome class 10th. So this is the first chapter of your biology where we will be discussing about life processes. So before I start this chapter in the class also, I often ask children, what do you mean by life, or how will you define life? Because this chapter is related to various life processes. So how do you define life? So if you have to give a simple definition of life, what do you say? Life is journey, yes. Life is adventure, life is fun. Many people say life is rocking, yeah. So many things come to your mind as soon as you are asked about life. But biologically, in terms of biology, we say we have certain fixed criteria to distinguish between a living and a non-living. There must be something which separates the living world from the non-living. The most important criteria which is used to distinguish between a living organism or a non-living organism is movement. So one of the most important criteria here that I am mentioning is movement. Okay. So movement is nothing but, suppose all living organisms, they can move without the help of any external help, right? Without help of any external help, that means they can move on their own. So that means this movement is a very important criteria to decide between a living and a non-living. So all living things, they move without the help of any external help. Some movements are easily visible, like movements of body parts, yes. Like in some cases only the body parts they move. Okay. Some movements are not easily visible, like in plants. Plants, they show some various. In the next chapter, coming chapter, you will come to know that in plants also there are so many movements seen, but these movements are not noticeable. They take a long time to see the effect of this movement. So the molecular movements in cells and tissues, this all movements are taking place. Yes, you are giving water to the plants, and as a result the plant grows. So all this, something is happening inside the plants. Okay, so all these things are happening, but this criteria, this is one of the most important criteria to decide whether something is live or not, right? So movement, we always consider movement. Besides movement, the criteria we have taken into consideration because this will help you to understand that how living organism is different from this non-living organism. Okay, so next comes life process. So what is life process? Life process, because this chapter is all about life processes, so keep this word before I explain you the importance. Please understand this term, processes. It is not a single word. Life processes. That means there are so many things, there are so many processes which are going on inside your body. These processes are necessary for maintenance of your life. If these processes stop functioning, the whole chain will be disrupted, and as a result, the system of life will stop. So the basic life processes are: first, nutrition, right? First is nutrition, yes. Next is respiration. Third is transportation. And fourth is excretion. These four processes we are going to discuss in details one by one, right? So these processes are necessary for maintenance. Please put a mark on this word, maintenance. These are necessary for maintaining your life. That means without these life processes stop or cease to function. So if life processes cease to function, the body system fails to perform. This is the reason to ensure that life process continues, this four system must work in coordination. Okay. So first I'll discuss about the first system, which is called as nutrition. Now nutrition, it is a method of taking nutrients from the environment. That means we are taking the nutrients which are required that are necessary for our growth and development. You all know that without food our sustenance is not possible, right? So nutrition is the process of taking food by an organism and its utilization by the body to build the body for growth. So what are the necessary things? Growth, from small class 6 onwards you have studied that why food is necessary. Food is necessary for growth, food is necessary for repairing of tissues, damaged part of the tissues. Yes, so without food nothing is possible. That is the reason nutrition is one of the most basic life process which is necessary for your growth as well as your development. So life on earth depends on carbon based molecules, and most of the food are also carbon based. So food is usually obtained, all living organisms, we are made up of carbon. So life on earth depends on this carbon based molecules. The outside raw materials used are usually, so these things we do not get inside our body. Inside our body, proteins, carbon in the form of proteins are there, carbohydrates are there, fats are there. These are utilized from time and time. That means inside our body also we have certain components which are utilized from time to time for the growth of the body, for the repair of the damaged tissues and all. But there are certain raw materials which are required in the body and which are needed and which we obtain only from the outside sources. What are this? These are your food, water, okay, food, water and air. This three, food, water and air, so we classify organisms as autotrophic, heterotrophic based on the mode of nutrition which we are going to study now. So there are two types of based on the mode of nutrition, there are two groups of organism. One is called as autotrophic, another is called as heterotrophic. Autotrophic, this is a mode of nutrition in which organisms prepare their own food. You all have studied about photosynthesis. Yes, here comes photosynthesis, which is the main term. So autotrophic nutrition means all green plants and some bacteria like cyanobacteria and all, they can manufacture their own food, so from the inorganic substances. Now comes, what are inorganic substances? Inorganic substances are carbon dioxide and water. See, ultimately the plant is manufacturing the product which is C6H12O6. You can see this along with oxygen, right? But to manufacture this is an organic product. Yes, this is an organic. To manufacture the organic substance, the raw material which is required is carbon dioxide and water along with sunlight. I haven't written sunlight, and in the presence of chlorophyll pigment. These inorganic compounds convert it into organic. Are you getting my point? Yes, in autotrophic nutrition, from inorganic to organic, this conversion is taking place. Okay, so this is done only by the green plants and also some bacteria. Similarly, heterotrophic nutrition, it is a nutrition in which organisms which cannot prepare their own food, they obtain it from other plants. So example, most of the fungi, okay, and some bacteria. Some bacteria, they cannot manufacture their own food, okay, so they have to undergo the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. But there are three main types of heterotrophic nutrition. They are saprophytic, parasitic and holozoic. Saprophytic nutrition, as you know, the word saprophytic itself means those organisms which get their food from dead and decaying organisms. Please remember this term. Dead and decaying organisms, if they get the nutrition, then it is called as saprophytic. So what do? They break down the food material outside the body and then it is absorbed. For example, mushroom, bread mold, yeast and also some types of bacteria. Okay, they are saprophytic in the nature. Next comes parasitic. So parasitic, as you know, those organisms in which nutrition, they get their food from living organisms, but they live on some other organism and derive nutrition from them without killing them. But of course, it affects the host organism. It is just like some guest. I always give this example in the class. It is parasitic nutrition is like some guest. Although we say Atithi Deva Bhava in our country, yes or no? But sometimes some guests, they come for a long period of time to your home and they do not leave also quickly. So at that time what happens, they start depending on you for food and all. Yes, so similarly these parasites also, they live on the host and they get all the benefit from the host, and as a result they get the nutrition also from the host. So these examples are cuscuta, okay, cuscuta, orchids, ticks, lice, leeches, roundworm, tapeworm, plasmodium. You have read about this in class 9th, tapeworm. Remember? Flatworms, platyhelminthes. So tapeworm, there also you have studied roundworm, leeches. All these examples are of parasitic mode of nutrition. The next comes holozoic nutrition. The word holozoic itself means holo, to take food, or you can just split it like this. Holo means to ingest, okay, ingest food directly, whole food. So this nutrition in which organisms take food directly and then digest and absorb it. For example, amoeba, paramecium, birds, fishes, humans, etc. If you read this carefully, see the range of holozoic nutrition. Amoeba is unicellular. What about humans? Human are multicellular. So holozoic nutrition can take place right from the unicellular to the multicellular. This is the, what you can say, variation or the range of holozoic nutrition. Okay, now regarding this you will study in details in the next part, that is nutrition in amoeba. But before I go to the next topic, nutrition in plants, please remember all the life processes you have to study in plants as well as in animals. So my dear children, this chapter is a very lengthy chapter, and please be prepared for 1 mark question also, as well as for long questions also, because this chapter you can never predict that you will get only long questions. Often you get 1 mark question, often you get your 3 marks question also, but most at the time we expect 5 marks question from this chapter. Right. So now I go to the main part, that is nutrition in plants. How do plants manufacture their own food? You all have just now come across the term photosynthesis. Please remember the equation for photosynthesis. I am not discussing again because just now I have explained you. So equation for photosynthesis, here it is not written properly because of this what you can say typing error and all. So what are the raw materials required for photosynthesis? First thing, the raw material is carbon dioxide. From where do we get the carbon dioxide? We get carbon dioxide, of course, from the either from the automobiles or industries, or obviously from the plants. Yes, so this plants sometimes, yes, sometimes some plants also they give out carbon dioxide, along with most of the time plants give out oxygen, but at night plants can give out carbon dioxide also. So if you see this diagram clearly, children, if you see this diagram, energy from sunlight, right, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and water, these three are the raw materials which are necessary, along with the in presence of chlorophyll pigment which is present in the plants, to produce the main product, that is glucose along with oxygen. Whenever you define photosynthesis as a class 10th children, you have to keep in mind that for a class 10 children, definition of photosynthesis along with the main products that are produced, that is 6 molecules of water, along glucose, 6 molecules of water, and carbon and oxygen, of course. Now the raw materials, 2 questions are asked. What are the raw materials? So I hope you have got the point, raw materials. So whenever we talk about raw materials, that is what? CO2, then H2O, along with what? Along with sunlight and chlorophyll. These are the raw materials for photosynthesis. Next comes, what are the end product? When we talk about end product, that is glucose along with oxygen. Sometimes here in few equation you can see water, but actually water is released during the process of transpiration, which is negligible. Now, you know where this takes place? Photosynthesis takes place in the green pigment, that is chlorophyll. This is the structure of chlorophyll. A little bit is mentioned in your textbooks. So these are the green pigments present in the leaf. If you observe a crest, actually this is done for the practical purpose. Under the microscope, we can see these green dot-like structures, okay, which are called as chloroplast. If I zoom it, no, I cannot do this here. You can see. So these structures are called as chloroplast. Okay, we can see small dot-like structures called chloroplast, which contain the chlorophyll pigment. Now, if you see this diagram is also there in the textbook. Yes, it is zoomed here. You can see very nicely. This is how this is a cross section of a leaf. Okay, this diagram is there in your textbook, I'm sure. You can see this diagram very carefully. Upper epidermis, lower epidermis, these are the mesophyll tissues. Now here you will see so many air spaces are present, and in between this is the stoma. So under the microscope we see this structure. Okay, now comes to the next structure which I was talking about. This is how the chloroplast looks like. Okay, next we have this stroma. Okay, stomata, which allows, this diagram is also there in the textbook, I believe. It allows carbon dioxide to enter and water vapor to leave, as I told you. So now comes the main portion, which is stomata. What are stomata? Stomata are tiny pores present in the leaves through which exchange of gases takes place. Each stoma, remember, stomata is plural, stoma is singular. Each stoma has a pair of guard cells. Here you can see this diagram. These are the guard cells. I'll show you, zoom it here and show you next. These guard cells are responsible for regulating the flow of water. This means these guard cells, what does a guard do? A guard, it controls either the opening and the closing. Same thing is done by the guard cells, which controls the opening and closing of the stomatal pore. Suppose when water enters the guard cell, what will happen? It swells and the pore opens. And when the guard cells lose water, it shrinks and the pore closes. I'll explain this in the later part again. But before I go to the part, you please understand how the structure of stoma looks like. Okay, so see this diagram. This is a microscopic view. Please remember, children, we are going to do this for practical also. So if you see this diagram carefully, and remember, this will come for your theory part also, for your practical part also. If you see a few the stomatal pore are, in this case, you can see it is closed. In some cases, you can see it is open. This is closed. This is stomata open. Why is it so? Now, to understand this, you have to understand the point which I explained just now. When water enters the guard cell, it swells and the pores open. So this is because of diffusion. When water diffuses into the guard cell, which causes them to open. Why does it open? Because of diffusion, which you have studied in class 9th. So water diffuses into the guard cell, which causes them to open. Generally on hot and dry days, these guard cells have less water. Whenever the water content inside is less, so they become relaxed and the stoma, they close. Now this is how this diagram, if you see carefully, yes, see here, H2O means water, of course. These are the guard cells. Can you see this kidney shaped structure? Yes. These guard cells, they regulate the opening and closing. Here guard cell, you can see this is closed. So what happens? As a result, the guard cell, this stomata, it shrinks. When the guard cell is closed, the stomata becomes shrinked, and when it is open, it becomes flaccid. These two terms you must remember. One is flaccid and one is shrink. So, what is the role of guard cell? The role of guard cell is to regulate the opening and closing of the stomata. If their water has to enter, what will happen? The guard cells will open and due to diffusion, water will enter. But if the plants decide that they cannot lose any more amount of water, so what they do, they close the stomata. The stomata is closed, and as a result, what will happen? It will prevent the excess loss of water from the plant tissue, from the leaf tissue or plant tissue, whatever you say. So this point is very important. This is stoma open, this is stoma. Under the microscope, when you will be observing this, when you will be doing this activity as a part of your practical, this two diagrams are very important. This one for opening of the stomata and one is the closing of stomata. When does stomata remain open? When does stomata remain closed? Right? So with this part is over. So next we go to activity. There are 3 activities actually. 2 activities are given, but one more is there which you have to write on your own. I have told you that for photosynthesis, chlorophyll is necessary. For photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is necessary. For photosynthesis, of course, water is also necessary. Yes, so how we will prove that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis? Now, to understand this, we have to go through this activity, right? Activity to show that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis, right? For this activity, you need to take a potted plant having variegated leaf. Usually we take croton plant. You can see the diagram in the textbook. Here the diagram is not given. So it is usually, if you don't have a croton plant, you can take money plant, right? Money plant, all of you know. So a potted plant of variegated leaf like money plant or croton. Then you need paper, of course, pencil and all, beaker, water bath, iodine solution and alcohol. These are the main things required, right? So for this procedure that you are going to follow is, first you need to take a potted plant with variated leaf. Like I have told you, you select a very healthy leaf from a plant. Usually money plant will also do. And it is placed in sunlight, direct sunlight for nearly 6 hours. Okay. Then what you can do is, you can take the leaf and you take the leaf and keep it in a dark room, right? So what is a dark room? Usually place where it does not receive enough sunlight. Keep it in the dark room for 3 days. Why? So that all the starch, because if it is placed in a dark room, no photosynthesis will occur, right? For photosynthesis, you know, sunlight is necessary. So you put it in a dark place such that there is no entry of sunlight and all the starch is used up. Next, again you put it in the sunlight for 6 hours. Then take a leaf from the plant and mark the green areas of the leaf on a sheet of paper. Now you dip the leaf. The next step is, after all the starch is removed, that means it is destarched. This part will be required again and again in all the activities. Sometimes in the board question paper also, there was a question which came in the last year board exam 2000, that is 2000, not last year, this year rather, 2020, yeah. So the question that was asked is, design an activity to show that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. Or they can ask this way also, design your own activity. So whenever you are designing an activity, keep it in mind, the first step is you have to destarch it. Destarch means you have to remove all the starch, and that is done first by keeping it in the sunlight and then by keeping it in a dark room for nearly 3 days. The next step is, to dip the leaf in boiling water to make it soft, so that the tissues which are present, it becomes soft. And then we dip the leaf in alcohol and heat it in water bath to decolorize it. Yes, this point you must remember, decolorization, and remove the chlorophyll. When you dip the leaf in alcohol, after destarching it and after making the leaf tissues soft by keeping it in boiling water, you have to decolorize it by placing the leaf in a alcohol, okay, alcohol medium that is used, and then heating it in a water bath to remove the chlorophyll. Next, you have to wash the leaf in water and dip it in iodine solution. Why iodine solution is used? Because you know that only starch will react with iodine. Yes, in lower classes you have studied this. So it will be seen that suppose if it is a leaf, the only the part which has where no photosynthesis has taken place, what will happen? There will be no color change. There will be two types of patches. So what are the observations that you notice? So this is the activity. But what are the observations? The observations, please note it down because it is not given as such in the textbook also. This activity is there in the textbook. Find out this activity from the textbook and write down the observation. The leaf has two types of patches. Number one, bluish black. Bluish, okay, BLUISH, bluish black. And the second one is bluish black, okay. Same together, bluish black, and second one is yellow, right? There are two types of observations you will see. One is bluish black, another is yellow. The bluish black areas contain starch. Wherever you will get bluish black, BB I am writing in short, these bluish black areas, they contain starch. And rest, the yellow zone, the mark where you will see yellow areas, these are without starch. Am I clear? If it is yellow areas indicating in the leaf, then that indicates that there is no starch. So from this, what conclusion can you draw? Observation. After observation, you have to write procedure. You remember how to write an activity, right? One is materials required, then aim of the experiment, of course, materials required, procedure, and now comes observation, and then finally conclusion. So what is the conclusion you can draw here? That chlorophyll contains areas, only chlorophyll containing areas, that is the green part of the leaf, it produces starch, which is a product of photosynthesis. Again I am repeating conclusion. Chlorophyll containing areas, that is the green areas, okay. The green parts of the leaf which produce starch is a product of photosynthesis. Now I have given you the observation. There are two observations. One is bluish black, another is yellow. So bluish black areas are the ones which were green obviously, and yellow zone, the non-green areas, they remain yellow in color, or they are pale in color rather. So from this, what you have understood is that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. Is this experiment clear to you? Very easy experiment. What you need is, you need money plant. First you have to discharge it. Next you have to decolorize it. How do you decolorize it? By putting it in alcohol. Then you dip it in iodine solution, the third step. Then you rinse off, of course, and then observe the color change. We observe two types of patches in the leaf. One is bluish black, another is yellow. Which part will turn bluish black? The one which is green. They will turn bluish black, and the one which is pale yellow, they are the non-green areas, because you know that is the reason we have selected a money plant or a croton plant. Why have we selected this type of plant? Because this type of plant, you see two types of colors in the leaf. One is white color, another white or yellowish color, or sometimes it is green color also. Okay, so this is the first activity. The next activity is to show that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. Again the same procedure here. You have to take two potted plants now here of the same size, keep them in the dark room for 3 days, so that of course it is discharged. Then we keep them plants on separate glass plates. This activity we are going to do practically also. Now in one watch glass, okay, keep a watch glass containing some potassium hydroxide, KOH. For this activity, a very key ingredient or chemical is potassium hydroxide, which absorbs carbon dioxide. The role of KOH is to absorb carbon dioxide. Again I am repeating, KOH absorbs the carbon dioxide. That is the reason it has a very important role in this activity. Now cover both the plants with bell jars and seal the bottom of the jar with Vaseline to make it airtight. Keep the plant in sunlight for 3 hours. Then you take the leaf from each plant and test for starch. Now tell me, what is the test for starch? Just now you have done in the previous activity. Yes, the test for starch is the iodine test. Iodine test is the test for starch, right? So the leaf of the plant kept in the jar containing potassium hydroxide does not show the presence of starch. This shows that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. So from this activity, what we have come to know is carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis, and from the previous activity we have come to know that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. These two activities are very important. These two activities, again I am repeating, are very important from exam point of view. They come as such. As I told you, it is already asked in the previous year 2020 question paper. So this year also you prepare, it comes in various ways. Sometimes they ask small questions like which is the test for confirmation test for presence of chlorophyll. This way also they can ask, or sometimes they can ask how can you show that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. So with the help of this bell jar experiment, we call it as bell jar also sometimes because you covered the potted plant with a jar, yes. So this activity shows that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. So children, please go through this in details. What I have explained you just now, I am giving you a just small recapitulation. We have studied about nutrition in plants. So under this we have studied photosynthesis. Children, in photosynthesis various steps like light reaction, dark reaction are taking place. We are not discussing this in details because you will study this in higher classes. But of course, if you want more information on how this takes place, you can go through these steps. These are the steps. These 3 steps are mentioned in your textbook, how photosynthesis takes place. So first, absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. Second, conversion of light energy into chemical energy and splitting up of water molecules. The third step is reduction of carbon dioxide by hydrogen to form carbohydrates. These 3 steps are actually a combination of 2 things happening. One is called as light reaction and another is called as dark reaction. As a result of these 2 reactions, you get the main product, that is carbohydrate or glucose, C6H12O6. How do we get this? We get this is the final product of photosynthesis. It is not a very easy step that you join carbon dioxide and water and then with the presence of chlorophyll and sunlight it will form glucose. But it takes place through a series of steps, a series of chemical reactions, which we call it as light reaction and dark reaction. If you want to know more, you have to read some other books. So these are the 2 steps: light reaction, absorption of light energy by chlorophyll, conversion of light energy into chemical energy, and splitting up of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. Till here we can say these are the part of light reactions. This last one, reduction of carbon dioxide to form by hydrogen to form carbohydrates, this is a part of your dark reaction. So this is all about nutrition in plants. So we have studied photosynthesis, we have studied stomata, we have studied about the 2 activities that show that photosynthesis is necessary. For photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is necessary. Now you design an activity to show that water is necessary for photosynthesis. Yes, or sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis. I'm sorry. Show with the help of an activity that sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis. You can just use these 2 steps only for showing that activity, right?